the Horry County Auditor's Office has a new doctor. Who is she? You'll meet her coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Beach First Center on the corner of 38th and Grissom Parkway. We're focused on the March of Dimes, and we're visiting with its past chairman, the Honorable Dr. Lois Eargle. Good morning.
Doctor, I like that.
I know. How about it? That's right.
Oh, this is a beautiful, beautiful setting in here.
Isn't it tremendous?
I'm so glad we're here today.
You got in here earlier this morning and rode the
Yes,
elevator?
I'm telling you. Well, you're getting up early and coming 15 miles. Worth it all.
Absolutely. Isn't it a beautiful facility?
Yeah.
This is the administrative offices.
Yes. You know, coming in, it looks like sort of like a hotel.
Yeah,
you know, and,
the old Patricia Hotel.
Patricia Hotel.
Yeah, you told me that before we started. That's
but
right.
And if the viewers haven't seen it yet, it's worth the trip just to come out and take a tour.
It is. It is. And there was a big piece. We did a big piece on it being one of the first, if not the first, green building in Horry County. The building that went through a lot of environmentally sound and upfitting of procedures and opening it up just a couple of months ago.
That makes a lot of people happy.
That's right. Oh, absolutely. Very definitely. And it has been the Honorable Lois Eargle for 30 years, but the doctor just came in recently.
It did, and Greg, I cannot tell you how humbled and that I was that they bestowed that honorary degree on me. It was just overwhelming. And then my family and my children and my grandchildren, everybody was there at the graduation. And for the Coastal Carolina University to bestow upon me the honorary doctorate degree of public service was just wonderful. But now listen, somebody asked one of my grandchildren, said, "What's your grandmother do?" And they said she's a public serpent. So I hope it wasn't.
I'm sure some folks have thought about you in that regard. That's right.
That's what I was going to tell you. And it was so exciting. And then we had a dinner that night. My family did, and we had about 152 guests.
Out of the church, that's right. Was that at Langston?
It was at Langston Baptist Church in the Fellowship Hall, but most of the people there were from all over everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I heard folks are traveling in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Emma Claire and I were doing something that night, and I couldn't get out there, but I know
missed you.
A ton
I knew
of
you were
folks.
with me in spirit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A lot of folks were heading out there, and you're right, from all over.
Yeah.
Must have been from more than just the Carolinas.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. And I'm just so grateful that God has granted me the opportunity to be in this position and be a servant to the people. It's one of the most rewarding careers that anyone can ever have. And it's just very, very awesome.
I think you said earlier this morning you were elected in '92.
Yes,
Again?
for the auditor's position.
Right, of course, in '76, and we'll get into that in District
in
105.
92,
right.
And then in the auditor position it corresponds with the state budget. So although I was elected in '92, I did not take office until July the 1st, 1993.
Oh, wow, okay,
Yeah.
sure.
And then when my term is up, this term here is not up until July the 1st, 2009.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, even though the election will take place in '08.
That's right.
Huh.
So that's the way it does. That's just part of the South Carolina. People don't understand why we do things like we do.
No,
that's
so
just part of it.
many
Yeah.
years down the road, when you decide to step out of office, then someone will take that position in July of a year,
That's
of
right.
whatever year it is. So it follows the fiscal year of the state.
That's right.
Huh, that's very interesting.
You didn't know that, did you?
I did
You
not.
have learned something today.
I hope I'm not the only one. Hopefully we got a couple of folks tuning in
Yes.
this morning to experience that
I've
as well.
enjoyed that. On this, I have enjoyed every elected and appointed positions I have been in. And this position here gives me an opportunity to help people that is so confusing about the tax structure.
Totally.
And confusing about personal property taxes and homestead exemptions
Yes.
and then real property. And it gives me an opportunity to help people, and I just have enjoyed that part of it. The auditor's position has given me more opportunity to help more people and be a public servant to more people than any other position that I have had.
Even then in service as a House member in the
Yes.
State House.
Yes. Of course, now back then, probably today is different because
Right.
the population is so much greater now than it was back in whenever I served in the House.
Right.
But whenever I served in the House, I was talking last night with someone, and they were telling me about a particular representative that you just can't get in touch with. They just can't get them on the phone. And I thought, I can't understand that. I answered my own telephone. Because that's what I believe, that if you are elected by the people to be a servant to the people, well, by George, you ought to be accessible to the people.
To all people.
All people.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
My door's open. I don't close my door in my office. It's open. If you're in there and you want to see it, you walk into my office.
That's tremendous,
so,
Lois. I don't think I knew that. I mean, obviously, I
Yeah.
understand it seems obvious, but a lot of folks, as you say, are virtually inaccessible.
Yeah, and I'm not doing that. As long as I'm elected by the people, I'll be a servant to the people.
And speaking of that, not only by the people, but of your peers, I believe you shared with me that recently you've been elected president of the South Carolina, give me the name, it's a long acronym.
Yeah. Very impressive.
Yeah.
South Carolina Association of Countywide Elected Executives.
Countywide elected executives.
That includes every office that's elected countywide, including the sheriff and the treasurer, auditor,
probate judge,
and the
Melanie
coroner.
Huggins, the clerk of court, the coroner.
And it's a very large organization. And what we focus on mainly is to allow the people to continue to vote on elected officials. There is a move out there, and has been a move for a while, to appoint the auditor and the treasurers and all the county elected officials. And I do not believe that is in the best interest of the people. Let me give you a prime example of that.
Yeah, sure, please.
Greg.
Patsy Stone and I spoke about that one time.
Did you
yeah,
really?
we did, but please.
Let me give, for instance, insurance. Our insurance premium is going up so high. We had the insurance commissioner, who is appointed by the governor now, an appointed position, came down. She sits up there and she says, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, someone asked the question, why is it that the rates in North Carolina and the rates in Georgia are cheaper than the rates in South Carolina? And guess what? The insurance commissioner in North Carolina, the insurance commissioner in Georgia are elected by the people.
Both elected.
By the people. And there are 2 bills already that has been filed in the legislature to require the insurance commissioner to be elected by the people.
Really?
And so, because let me tell you, if she had to answer to the people, she'd do something about them rates. I'll tell you that right now.
That's a fascinating point. I hadn't even contemplated that. Another thing I've learned this morning.
Yeah.
So if I was living in North Carolina or in Georgia, I'd be in better shape with my insurance rates.
You sure would. Car insurance. That's the reason why we have such a problem with people registering the cars in North Carolina and out of state. Rates are cheap.
You mean car insurance rates as well, not just the property
That's exactly
rates?
right. And I contribute that to the fact that the insurance commissioner is elected by the people.
That is fascinating.
And if it ever comes to the point that the people in Horry County, if county council ever said, we want to give it to the people because we want to appoint the auditor and the treasurer.
Right,
That's
sure.
come up several times.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Particularly by your opponents.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
And
maybe not, because that means they'd never.
Yeah. So what you do is you better be careful, because you might not want what you get.
Right.
Because if you get a person that's elected by the people and you have a problem, they're going to adhere to your wishes, or you don't get elected
Or
next
nothing.
time.
That's right.
And I think it's good. Now, of course, I'm not saying they can do everything, but I never shall forget, Greg, you love this, when I was elected to the House of Representatives.
Yeah.
The first thing I did was I had a hearing about the hunters and the trappers.
This was in 76, 77. Right,
yeah.
right.
Now, somebody told me, now, when you're elected, don't you ever get involved with anything with the fur, fins, or feathers. You're in trouble. So we had a hearing because the trapper said that the dogs that whenever they were trapping, they trapped out of seasons. The hunters were saying their dogs got caught in the trap. They brought 3-legged dogs to the hearing, and I showed to show that their dogs had got caught in the trap.
Oh,
What
really?
they wanted was a season for trapping and a season for hunting.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
So I got to the schoolhouse that night, and there was Oh, it was just loaded with trucks, and then one of them trucks had a gun on it. I said,
No.
yeah, we're in trouble, you know. And but it worked out okay. I told them, I said, now the first thing we're going to do, we're going to open this meeting with prayer.
Oh, good.
They took off their hat and put it right here, you
Right.
know.
The guns were locked up from that. Yeah.
But
That's tremendous.
yeah, but that's and then the trapper said this, and the hunters. She may not do what you want her to do, but she is going to listen to you. And I hope that whenever I go down and finish out my public service, that people will say, you know what, she listened.
Right.
She listened. She might not do everything that you wanted her to do, but she listened.
You know, those great words, Brad Dean, I've heard use those many, many times. Probably someone else utilized that early on. The idea of we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, should be listening twice as much as we speak.
Right.
And that's a great point when you think about listening, and it's just so critical to take that time.
And listen.
To take that time. I'm sure a lot of folks, not only folks who've supported you, but even folks that opposed you in the past, Lois, would recognize you as a good listener.
Yeah.
As a good listener. That's wonderful. You know, speaking of that, so many the aspects of the honorary doctorate there at Coastal, which occurred, I guess, in November or December. Which was a big coup, and a lot of folks have been thinking about it. I'm sure they've probably been thinking about you for that position for a long time.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure they had. Of course, to think about service since '76.
Well, even before then, Greg, in the 1968, I got involved in court update that we changed in South Carolina in our courts in 8 months what it took Kansas City 8 years to do.
Really?
And that was just to get the question to the people, do you want to change our Constitution to read that we will operate under a unified court system? See, up until that time, South Carolina was an island. We were operating under the 1895 Constitution. Each county was an island to themselves. Right. And if you were arrested in Charleston and you lived in Horry County, you'd be charged. You'd be prosecuted differently because each county had their own, own rules. And in our county, was ruled by a big, strong political attorney senator.
Wow, that's a name I've heard about, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I got involved in that and became the president of Court Update, which was an organization of citizens that was interested in our court system. And we got out there and worked and changed our system. We changed it now to operate on a unified court system. The people voted for that. And so I've been working since in the 60s. And from that, it's not a perfect system.
Right, sure.